All right, so now we're going to look at Unit 3, Lesson 6. We can see this one has 7 levels that I need to get through. This lesson is all about debugging. So when we talk about debugging, we're talking about fixing mistakes in our code. As computer scientists, we tend to call errors or mistakes bugs, and they come in 2 forms. The first kind of bug that you can encounter is what we call a syntax error. So if you type something incorrect in your code, you will get a bug. It's going to show itself as soon as you click this run button. Because basically, if you type something wrong, like let's say you're in text mode and you forget the semicolon, uh, Java can kind of figure out, or sorry, JavaScript can kind of figure out what you're trying to do, but it's going to let you know that there's a problem going on there. The other type of bug that we have are logic errors. So sometimes your code is written correctly. You have all the parentheses, you have all the semicolons, you've written everything the way you're supposed to, but there's just a problem with your logic. So those are kind of the 2 different types of bugs that we're going to be looking at today. One is syntax and one is logic. Code.org does kind of try to help you with this. So sometimes you'll notice over here in your workspace on the left are these numbers, right? So these are the line numbers for your code. So sometimes you'll hear me say like, hey, look at line 3 in your code. I'm talking about, in that case, this line right here. To the left of that, sometimes you're going to see a yellow triangle or you may see a red square. All right, so this yellow triangle is code.org telling you that, hey, there's something wrong with this line. Like, I know what you're trying to do, but you wrote it incorrectly. If you get the red or the red square, that is code.org saying you wrote something wrong with this, and I don't know what you're trying to do. All right. So usually when you get a yellow triangle, your code's still going to run, but you wrote something wrong, so you need to fix that mistake before you turn it into me. If you get the red square, your app is not even going to run, right? So you definitely need to fix that just so you can get through the lesson. But in general, going forward, when you are submitting your work to me, you need to make sure that there's no yellow triangles over here and there's no red squares. All right. If I run your code and see any of that, you will get points taken off because that means you did something wrong and you did not bother to fix it. So make sure you're paying attention to that. So on this first lesson, what they want us to do is debug this program, which basically means they want you to fix the mistakes. So again, they kind of point out this slider bar because when you're debugging your code, it helps to kind of slow the code down so that when you run your app, you can watch each line of code run. You can see what happens in your app, and you can kind of find where the mistakes are. So in this case, I can see right away that there's a yellow triangle. So I need to look at that line and see what's going on. And if you mouse over it, sometimes it'll give you a little hint. So in this case, it's saying green hasn't been declared yet. That's not going to make a lot of sense to you just yet. We will get into what exactly declared means in a later lesson. Just know they're talking about this green right here, right? Something's wrong with this green. So in coding, we have different types of data that we use. For now, we're just going to focus on 2 types. One is strings, and the other one is numbers. So anytime you're using a string, you have to put quotes around the string. If you're doing numbers, there's no quotes. All right, now obviously this is not code that I've typed, so Java is showing me these red squares basically saying, hey, I don't even know what you're trying to do here. So that's something that I would need to fix. I just wanted to type it out so you could see that. So in this case, I am trying to console log out. Here is my favorite color. The next line should be the string green, but this green text does not have quotes around it. So to fix this bug, I'm going to need to put quotes around the word green. And then here's another string. And here's my favorite number, again with quotes around it. Now this is a number, so I do not need to put quotes around this. So if I run this code, it should console log out correctly. I should not get any errors or bugs show up, and then I know I'm done. So I can go ahead and finish that level and move to the next one. All right, on level 2, they're just asking you to debug this program. So this is kind of an extension of that first lesson that we did. This time we're using that set property UI control, which takes in 3 values. It's the ID of the element that we want to change, the property that we want to change, and the value that we want to give the property. So again, just kind of looking at this code right off the bat, I'm seeing this yellow triangle. It's giving me that same error, only this time it says blue has not been declared yet. And if I look over here, I've got this string for the word blue, but it does not have quotes around it. So I'm going to add those quotes in, then I'm going to run this. And as these lines run, again, I've got it on turtle, so it's going to go kind of slow so I can see each line. It should finish, update everything that I've asked it to do, and I should not be getting any errors down here. So I know I'm done, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that level. All right, so we're looking at level 3 now. This one wants us to run this program, debug the program so that the smiley face does not go off the screen. So let's see what they're talking about. If I run this app, I see that there's an on event here. So this on event is listening for any time I mouse over the smiley element. And then if that occurs, it's going to set the 3 properties. So one's for the background color, one's for the X location, one's for the Y location, and then it's going to play a sound. So let's see what happens as I mouse over this smiley element. Oh, all right. So the smiley disappeared. That's the bug that they're looking at. They want us to fix it so that the smiley face does not go off the screen. This is a lot like the sparrow and the hawk one that you guys did on lesson 5. So if you remember our app, our X value, we can go up to about 320, and our Y, we can go up to about 450. So somewhere in my code, I'm setting the X and Y value larger than 320 on the X and 450 on the Y. So let's look at this. If I look at line 3, that's where I'm setting my X value for that smiley element, and I'm using that random number again, which we introduced in lesson 5. So this is basically trying to set the X value to a random number between 0 and 400, but I know my X should not be larger than 320. So I could put 320 here. I'm going to put 250 just because I know that the center of the element is what gets set. So I want to try to keep as much of it in the grid as I can. So I'm going to go there on my Y. I know that the most I can do is 450. So I'm going to set this to about 350 just so I can keep as much of that on there. So let's go ahead and run this and see if it works. All right, so it's no longer going off the grid. So I should be able to finish this and move on to the next one. All right, so now we're looking at lesson 4. This one, honestly, students kind of struggle with because it's really hard to see the error. What I want you to notice is that up here it says, do not put on event blocks inside other on event blocks. You almost never want to do this. And this is true. I can't think of an instance where you're going to put an on event inside of another on event. But what do I mean by that? Let's look at this code and see if we can figure this out. So you can see line 1 is that comment, right? So it's going to ignore that. Here I have an on event. So this is basically going to listen for a click on the up button, which is this guy right here. And then this was that callback. So basically, when this event happens, when this up button is clicked, all of this code is going to run. All right, everything inside of this green line is enclosed within that initial on event. And if we look close, you can see that there's actually an on event here that's inside of this on event. Here's another on event inside my initial on event, and then here's a third on event inside of my initial on event. And I have this line telling me don't put an on event inside another on event. So I'm pretty sure that this is my error. So if you want to see the error, what you need to do, and again, this one's kind of tricky, you're going to run the app. When you click this up button, it's going to show you the controls. If I click play, it's going to console log out that it's playing, and then I'm going to click stop, and it's going to show me that it's stopped playing. All right, so I get my console log playing and stop playing. Now, if I just play it again, all right, it seems like it's working okay. What you'll notice is if you minimize that control bar and then bring it up again, when I click the play button, even though I click it one time, watch how many times it console logs out. All right, so there's an error going on. Once I show the menu bar, click play, and then minimize it, when I bring that menu bar back up, every time I click play, it's going to play the song multiple times. If I do this again, it's actually going to play 3 times this time. Sorry, actually, let me minimize it, and then I'll bring it up. Then you'll see that it does it 3 times. All right, so that's a bug. I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually go to text mode on this one. And those 3 on events that were inside this initial on event, I'm going to move them so that they're all individual events. They are not inside other events. All right. So if I go back to block mode, you can see this initial on event now, listening for that click on the up button. Inside of that one on event, I just have my console log and my set properties. This is now its own on event. It's not contained inside this on event anymore, and the same for these 2. So now when I reset this and run it, if I play it and then I stop it and I minimize the controls, if I play this again, I should just get 1 play log. Right. So now it's working correctly. So once you make that change, you can go ahead and finish that one and move on. All right, so lesson 5, it just wants you to kind of look at this code. So your classmate needs some help. They wrote this code. It's not working as expected. They want you to look at the code, see if you can figure out what's wrong, and then type your answer in here. I think you guys can figure this one out, so I'm going to let you guys try that on your own. Then we're going to go to level 6. So on level 6, you'll notice that there's actually 3 apps for you to work on. For you to finish this lesson in full and get full credit, you need to finish A and B and C. So all 3 of these should be filled in. For this video, I'm just going to go through A. I'll let you figure out B and C on your own so that you guys can get some practice with this. But basically, we have 3 on events over here. So I can see that there's an on event. So when I click on the cow image, this should happen. When I click on the rooster image, this should happen. And then when I click on the pig image, this should happen. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. All right, so I clicked on cow. I got a cow sound and it says cow. I'm going to click on rooster. All right, so there's a problem. I clicked on rooster. It's saying pig. It's saying cow down here, and I got a pig sound. Let's click on the pig. All right, so when I click on the pig, it's saying pig up here. I'm getting a rooster sound, and it's saying rooster. So I've got a couple issues going on with this. So let's kind of read through this code and see if we can figure out what's going on. So I got a comment. It's telling me it's going to play a moo sound when the user clicks the cow. I got an on event, so when I click the cow image, it's going to play a moo sound, and then it's going to update the animal text element, which is this guy, to say cow. So that looks right. Here, I'm saying on event, rooster image. When I click it, I want to play sound pig. Okay, so if I click the rooster image, I shouldn't be playing the pig sound. I should be playing the rooster sound. So I'm going to change here. I'm going to go ahead and switch these, right? So now when I click the rooster image, it should play the rooster sound. Then set property app name, which is up here. This says pig, but again, I'm clicking the pig image, so this should actually say rooster, not pig. Again, it's a string, so I'm making sure that there's quotes around it. Here, I'm looking to play the pig sound whenever I click that pig image, but right, so I switched this one already, so this one looks right now. And then here, set property animal text rooster. I actually want that to say pig. All right, let's go ahead and run this, see if this sounds better. All right, so it says cow, it played cow. Still got the rooster and cow issue going on, and that says rooster and pig. So what I'm noticing is I'm kind of missing some set properties here. All right, if I look at this set property, it's setting the animal text to cow. Here I'm setting the property of the app name. And then here I'm just setting the animal text again. Ideally, the app name and the animal text should update every time. So in this case, I have one for the animal text. I'm going to add a set property here. This is going to be for the app name. I want to change the text, and I'm going to make it say cow. Now this one, you can see I have a play sound with two set properties. I'm still missing a set property here, so I'm going to drag another one down. In this case, I'm already updating the app name, so I want to update the animal text. The property I'm going to change is the text, and I want it to say rooster. And then same thing here. I've got one set property. I need another one. So in this case, I was already updating the animal text, so this time I need to do the app name. Again, the property I want to change is the text, and I want it to say pig. All right, so if I run this now, let's see if this works. I got cow and a cow sound, rooster and a rooster sound, and I got pig and a pig sound. All right, now there's a couple different ways that you could do this. If I actually reset this, all right, so I'm going to go back to the start. This app name, you could make the argument that the app name should always say farm sound. So we really don't want to update this ever. So another way, if you chose to fix it this way, you could just make sure that the only thing that you were changing was the animal text. All right, in that case, this looks like it's misspelled, so we'll change that. We're going to switch these. Again, I'm going through this kind of quick, but it's one that I've already fixed one time, so we're just going to kind of go with this. So this pig, this should say pig. This is the rooster. Right. Looks like I got these backwards still. So this time when I run it, this farm sound should never change. I should just see this change down here, and I should just hear the correct sound. All right, so that's another way that you could do it, right? Again, pretend like it's your app. You can kind of fix these however you want. You just want to make sure that everything's working right. So that's pretty much it for this video. Level 7 is just a check for understanding. Again, on level 6, don't forget, I walked you guys through A, but you need to do B and C as well on your own. If you need help with those, you can always go on YouTube and search up videos. If you type in code.org, APCSP, or computer science principles, just type in Unit 3, Lesson 6, see if you can find a video to help you with one of those, or you can come by my room. Don't forget to do your weekly check-ins, and I'll see you next week.